A warm welcome to you e-loungers, to the first e-lounge of 2025. As we kick off the year 2025, we are privileged to host one of Africa's most accomplished visionaries and thought leaders, Dr. Thebe Ikalafeng. Widely regarded as the Brand Africa guru and a Hall of Fame global branding authority, Dr. Ikalafeng has dedicated over 3 decades to reshaping the narrative of Africa, championing its excellence and fostering unity across the continent. Born and raised in Kimberley, South Africa, Dr. Ikalafeng's journey began with humble surroundings but boundless dreams. His educational accomplishments include a BSBA cum laude, a MBA, and a LLM in intellectual property law, alongside completing executive programs at Harvard Business School. He is a chartered marketer SA and has received honorary doctorates from the University of Johannesburg and the University of South Africa in recognition of his contributions to branding and African culture. He is the founder of Brand Leadership Group, a multidisciplinary branding advisory group at the intersection of strategy, creativity, and law. The founder of Brand Africa, non-profit movement for a brand-led African agenda, and the Brand Africa 100 Africa's Best Brands initiative. His influence has earned him accolades such as Lifetime Achievement Awards from Financial Mail, EdFocus, and the Public Relations Institute of Southern Africa, recognition as one of the 100 most influential Africans by New African Magazine, most influential people of Africa, Descent, and most reputable Africans by Reputation International, an Emmy Africa Special Recognition Award in Ghana for driving a brand-led African renaissance, and a GQ Men of the Year Industry Icon Award for his contributions to Africa. An adventurer at heart, Dr. Ikalafeng has explored all 54 African countries and every continent. These experiences have shaped his deep understanding of Africa's interconnectedness and are beautifully captured in his book, The Traveler, Crossing Borders and Connecting Africa. This book takes us on a journey through his life, showing how passion for his work sparked a great African adventure to discover the true spirit and identity of the continent. The e-lounge is a unique platform dedicated to sharing knowledge and fostering a culture of reading. We believe that true leaders are not just readers, but are seekers of diverse perspectives, open to learning and committed to sharing their knowledge for the betterment of all.
A very warm welcome to the e-lounge. This year's first installation of the e-lounge in 2025, we bring you the brand leader, Africa's global icon, Dr. Thebe Ikalafeng. We are reviewing his book, of course. I'm sure many of you have seen. Please take out your notebooks. As I always say, take out your notebooks because there's a lot of lessons to learn in this session. The book titled The Traveler, Connecting in Africa. Dr. Thebe, welcome.
Thank you so much.
It's such a pleasure to have you here. I know that you could have been in Tanzania, in Ghana, in Mogadishu, but you chose to spend the day with us. Thank you so much.
It's much better to be with you today, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you for having me.
We have a lot to talk about, as I was saying off camera, that your book is not a book that one can have a conversation on in an hour. I think an hour doesn't do justice to it. So we'll try our best. Let me start off with, because we work for the Gautrain, we are here on the train behind us, a journey by train. In your book, you take us through vivid memories of you and your grandmother going to Bloemfontein to visit your mother, and those journeys and how she packed this delicious, scrumptious lunches for your mother. Yes, I mean, we can
and
picture.
And then tea in a flask.
It sounds so delicious, right?
And on a train. So I knew the train very well because we used to take it all the time. We used to leave at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and arrives at 8 p.m. at night in Bloemfontein. So leave Kimberley at 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. You know those maroon and white trains? Before we had the Gautrains, of course.
Of course.
And then it was like a 4-hour train to get to Bloemfontein.
And I was thinking as I was reading that sentence, Dr. T, the value of those journeys by train and the storytelling that happens in between, and what you learn from your grandmother in spending that time on a journey by train. Of course, symbolism here is that trains offer us the opportunity for storytelling. But your experience?
Because it is because you are in an enclosed environment
yes.
and time, And you can't run away because, if you know me well, I would have been out in the streets. So now being in the train, in a confined space. So we get to talk everything. And we talk things about family. You talk things about your hopes. You talk things about... So it's so interesting because I think when we're in the train, when you're at home, it's all about discipline. It's about doing your work, going to school, doing the stoop, even going to church, all those. It's all about discipline. When you're in a train, it's interesting because we don't talk about those things. Because in the train, it's more about dreams. It's about anticipation of the journey ahead. It's about the journey itself. It's about, it's fun. Because what else can we do for 4 hours to train?
I know. It's a beautiful story that you share with us about your relationship you had with your grandmother. Maybe somebody who doesn't know you, maybe there's a young person who's listening to this and wondering, who is Thebe Ikalafeng?
Well, I was born and raised in Kimberley in the township Kgaleshewe. And I was raised by my grandmother because my mother was a migrant worker. She was a nurse, called a migrant worker because she was not living in Kimberley. So my mother was a nurse training as a nurse in Port Elizabeth, and then 14 Streams, then Bloemfontein. So we got to see our mother only in December and in June. June when she brings in the winter clothes. December when we go see her to get the Christmas clothes.
Christmas, So
there's always, I think it was an incentive. You only see me for Christmas clothes and for winter clothes and for uniform. So December is uniform and Christmas clothes, and June is winter clothes. So I spend a lot more time with my grandmother, obviously. We always walk in together to go visit her friends, to go shopping, so Tangamatumba, at the butchery, bones to come make soup, and go to church with her. So I pretty much was on the road with her, and I mean, we didn't have cars, so it was always on walking. Or when we're at home, we'll be next to our Dover stove, particularly in winter, and we'll be listening to all the stories, scary stories and the good stories about gossiping about the neighbors. Because your grandmothers are right. They'll be gossiping, they'll be saying, the grandma, they can't hear you. There's walls here.
This is what happens.
But you also talk about dreams, which is interesting because, when I grow up, grandma, when I grow up, this is what I'm going to do for us, I'm going to do for you. So that's us. I mean, I think it's a typical township life. I had an absolute typical happy township life.
Yeah. Your grandmother in I think it's page 23 of the book. And
the book is that big?
Well, that's just the beginning, let me tell you. Page 23 is like, you are not even in the surface of the book. She describes you as somebody who was always on the move, right? Obviously, I had to start with that because it resonates with our theme as the Gautrain, for the people on the
always
move.
On the move.
And she says as she describes you, I thought this could have been your nickname because I listened to her in one interview and said, actually, I don't have nicknames. I'm like, but she used to describe you as someone only now.
Only now. You're always on the road. Can't you sit still? Literally, that's what she used to say. So I always feel that I think this woman bewitched me. Because I think she cursed me because now I can't sit still, literally, because I was always somewhere. I was always out to go see friends, out to go play tennis, to go football, to go piano, to go play chess, to go to choir, to go to dance, to go. That's pretty much, I did everything. So it required me to be out in the streets. And if nothing was happening, I'd be out in the streets with my friends. We'll be out in the veld, catching and killing birds and eating them. Coming back ashy and dirty. And then my uncles, because my grandmother and my uncles. Uncles then arrive at 7 p.m. There's no street lights. Kumyama is dark. And then they'll be giving a little whoop for being out in the streets so late. I was always in the streets. I think what she recognized in an early stage that I'm not a very person who settles down one place. That I'm constantly discovering and constantly on the road.
No wonder then your book is actually named The Traveler. I thought that was very interesting that your grandmother called it so early in saying that only now. But let's talk a little bit about family and the fact that I think there's somewhere in the book you speak about how you were allowed to be who you are. You were supported, you were mothered. It doesn't seem to me that your mom or or your uncles or your grandmother dictated who you should be in life or what career path you should choose. And I thought that perhaps it's good to just ask you this question in your perspective in society today, where we still have those stereotypes of saying to children, be a doctor, be an accountant, make money, and so on. What's your philosophy around the kind of parenting you received as a child, and what would probably work best today in supporting people in their aspirations and what they dream to be?
I think everybody is destined to be somebody in something. And we don't always know what that is.
Yeah.
And if you don't know what it is, then you need to be allowed a space to experiment, to find, to explore where your interests lie. And I was lucky that I was really never dictated to. That I tried everything. I mean, even in sports, I tried it all. Drama, I tried it all. Debate, chess. There's nothing I did not try. And they never ever used to say, oh, you're wasting money, you're trying too many things. It was all like, if I go this way, they go with me. If I go this way, they go with me. So it was like, oh, so we're playing tennis now. So now we need tennis rackets. Yes, because so that's what it is, right? But I think what that did, it allowed me, so like a pendulum, you swing.
Yeah.
So as a pendulum swings, at some stage it settles into an equilibrium or a point of rest.
Yeah.
And that point of rest is where you are the most comfortable. And I think by allowing children or myself or anybody else to explore like that, it gives you that opportunity. But also then, I think I also have insurance because I was always doing well at school. So because I was doing well at school, I had sort of a license to experiment out of school. Because that allowed, because I said, it's doing well here, supporting me well here. But even in school, I was never told anything. I was never told, oh, you must become a teacher. We never used to talk about that. We never used to talk about, oh, you must become a teacher, you must become this way, people make money. I just did what I wanted. I was never ever told what to do and where to go.
I'm glad that you mentioned school. It's something that I want to talk about later, but let me get onto it straight away. You were 14 with many of your friends in school, and as a top student, you often found yourself tutoring, teaching other kids, showing them what to do, supporting your friends as much as possible. What I found interesting was how you explain to us or narrate to us how the teachers, or one of the teachers, Mr. Shoops, if you're listening.
May his soul not wake up.
How you supported him in terms of marking the scripts, because as you say in the book, most of the teachers had a problem with the bottle. You put it so eloquently.
Because when I was writing the book and I showed some of my friends, they're like, oh, but Thebe, can we just try and find a way to make alcoholism look nice, to make delinquency look nice. So they say, now, let's do something about it. So I think, I still feel, when I look back now, in today's terms, I'll be seeing a psychologist.
Yes.
I'll feel like, oh, this is abuse. I feel like, I will be traumatized. Child labor, yonke, all that stuff, right? But when I was in the middle of it, I never thought of it, because when Mr. Sharp says, Thebe, I'm going to be in trouble, I'm going to be fired, can you come meet me at home? Because my house was on the way to his.
Yes.
My house was on the way to past his, on my way to home. I had to go past his. He'll call me up, I'll come. He's like, come help me mark the papers. Because he was too drunk to mark the papers. Sets the exam, doesn't have time to mark the papers. So I had to sit and mark the papers. I have to mark everybody and then mark myself, and I had to moderate my paper. It's crazy, but it happened. I think it happened a couple of years or so. And of course, after class, I always used to teach my friends, some of my schoolmates, particularly mathematics and science, because I understood them a little bit. I figured out a way of how to understand those subjects and to help my friends. But then also when I was much younger, I used to play teacher. I used to play teacher when I was much younger, 6, 7, 8. Of all the things that we can play, I play teacher.
Okay, to teach everyone else. Where I wanted to get to, Prati, because it's very clear that even in those days, alcoholism was a symptom of something else, or a response to something else. And you say in your book that, the atrocities of apartheid and what people were going through at the time. But even now, in South Africa, I think COVID-19 shone a spotlight into how alcoholism in the country is quite high. We are the 4th or the 5th ranked country in terms of, alcoholism. And you yourself, of course, done you don't touch it.
No, I don't drink.
You don't
After
drink
I said
at
you,
all.
of course, you are the embodiment of it.
No, I'm saying you don't touch a drink.
Well, I don't
but
drink.
I,
I've
but,
just never drank.
But I just thought what your insights are in how this predicament we still find ourselves in 40, 30 years later, we're still having the same issue as South Africans in terms of alcoholism, of course, driven by different things at this point in time.
I think when we were all growing up, alcohol was an escape. Mm-hmm. It was an escape for our fathers, our grandfathers, our mothers, and all those, because an escape from a system they couldn't do much out of. Mm-hmm. Because now remember, we were confined to our townships, and there was also times that you had to be in the townships. Remember, there's lots of curfews and all those during apartheid times. Mm. But what they didn't give you a curfew on is on getting drunk. And they had a bottle store, or rather a beer hall. It's called them beer halls. They had a beer hall. Probably every major corner of a town, or every major sub township had a beer hall. Mm. And so, if you're looking for your grandfather, your uncle, you can just go find them there sitting and drinking. Yeah. And I think for them it was their escape. Yeah. And from escape from many of their social ills or social problems. I don't know what's the reason now people abuse alcohol, but I think it could also be another reason, that it's also an escape. Because when I speak to people, they're like, when I'm drunk, when I'm high, I'm away from all my problems. It's an escape. It's an escape. Yeah. But I don't want to judge people who drink or smoke or do drugs. I think we all have our choices and our vices. But the key, I always say, but let's just pursue them responsibly.
No, it's very saddening, as I said. I think during COVID-19, it was very clear that in South Africa there is this problem.
People used to put alcohol in teapots.
I don't want to go to the stories of that.
During COVID, people are creative. People are creative during COVID.
The homemade pineapple. And
right. It's like the water bottle, kanti gwele in Nansika.
No, guys, we won't go there. Trauma, I understand. At a very young age, Bertie, you were very wired to stand up for yourself. I see it a little bit from what you share about your grandmother and how she walked and how she ran the household.
She was very pacey. She was fast.
Yes.
She was a disciplinarian. Yeah. But she was love.
Yeah, at the same time. So I think in many different other mentors. But you're being wired as somebody who stands up for what you believe in, and you just were you from a very young age. Because
I was allowed to be myself.
At home?
At home.
Okay.
So I never had to go out to pretend to be something else. So, and I always stood up for myself. And people always say, how did this happen? I think we're all different people. I think it's my personality. My personality has always been about being assertive. Okay. And I was always top of the class. Yeah. So it means I always knew how to stand up for myself. I always had standards of and expectations of what I can be or what I'm capable of. And I never took nonsense from anybody, from all my life. It's just how I've been.
I think it was such bravery. And this is the question I wanted to ask you. In South Africa, where I think it's an employer's market, so the job opportunities are less, when you were working for Colgate-Palmolive, you told people where to get off.
Every job I've had.
Yes. This is just examples that I'm finding in the book. And I was asking myself, how do you, not that you duplicate yourself in many of us, but how do you give us some of that gusto, some of that, I can just stand up for myself and say what I think without worrying about the consequences. Because
somebody
I think we worry about
something to me. And maybe let me work in this. First, you must always be at a job where you are happiest doing the job. To me, I think that's fundamental. But the second and most important, I think you must always do the job, if not more than the job. So you must deliver. Yeah. Because when you have the basis of being at a job that you absolutely love, you're passionate about, and you are delivering on your mandate or your assignment, or over-delivering on it, you now have the ground to challenge anything that is inconsistent with how you do the work. So for me, standing up, and somebody said to me the other day, she says, I understood why you could do that, because you were also working hard. So if you work hard, you deliver on the job that you're supposed to do, or over-deliver on the job. And you are doing the job and you love what you're doing, it gives you sort of the ammunition to be able to withstand any challenges that contradict that.
And I think it ties in then with somewhere in the book where you're saying most of the colleagues were asking you at Nike, how do you do what you want to do? How do you get away with doing what you want to do, but at the same time deliver on the brand? Because you won many accolades while you were there. And I thought to myself, maybe you've got a bit of a toolkit. I was looking for it in the book. Say, Pretty, just tell us, what are these things? What's your day routine like? What are these things that keep you who you are, upright, stick to your values, stand up for what you believe in? And the work ethic component is actually the toolkit that I'm looking for today.
So I'm not sure if I've got a toolkit. I know one thing.
Yeah.
I do what I love, and I love what I do. And I put in energy into everything that I do, and I expect I've got very high standards for myself.
Yeah.
And I don't have a routine, if you will.
Yeah.
I go with half the flow, how I feel. Of course, I know what I need to deliver.
Yeah.
I focus my energies on that,
Yeah.
and I do it right and well and on time. And to me, that's there is no other toolkit, because we all get employed.
Yeah.
We all get given jobs or assignments,
Yeah.
and there are expectations out of those. So the only thing expected is you deliver on that.
Yeah.
And how I work may be very different from how you work to achieve the same, if not better, results. So you need to understand yourself. What's your best work mode?
Yeah.
You know, some people's best work mode, Patty, I'm gonna wake up early in the morning. My good friend, Professor Jonathan Johnson, said he wakes up at 3 o'clock in the morning to start writing and thinking. That's why I wrote so many books. Start writing and thinking, and then at 7:30 or 7:30 he prepares to go to work.
Yeah.
And when he arrives at work, he's already 4 hours ahead of the rest of us.
Yeah.
So that's his work.
Yeah.
That's his work mode.
Yeah.
I'm different. If I'm on an assignment, I'll do that. If I'm not on an assignment, I'll do something different. Sometimes I work late, sometimes I work early, sometimes I just go home and watch nonsense. I follow all the rubbish on Twitter. I follow all the rubbish on TV. My channel is always either on sports or on news.
The news, yeah.
It's the only thing I watch on TV. And so I don't think there's a formula, but if there is a formula, it's called do what you get paid for. Do what you get asked for, but most importantly, do what you accepted as an assignment. Because sometimes it may not be for paid, but you've accepted it.
You've accepted what
so you have to deliver on that.
Yeah.
So what my friends say that how do you get away with it? I always used to explain to them internationally. I used to say to them, I understand as a marketer, because they were asking the question as a marketer from a branding perspective. I said, I understand what the brand requires, and I understand my market, and I need to deliver the brand and to adjust the delivery to the market.
Yeah.
And that's how you can get away with what you do while delivering on the job.
As South Africa's best loved tourist and tourism ambassador for many years, as you served in the board of South African Tourism and your travels in every corner of the continent, what would you say to somebody who's hasn't had the experience of traveling? And I think most of us, when you think about travel, you think, let me go overseas and, I don't know, go to UK, US, whatever the case might be. We're not thinking in terms of South Africa, Africa. What is it that this continent and this country can teach us in terms of travel?
I always say that in Africa, you go to the people. Everywhere else, you go to the things. So, you know, when I go to Paris, I want to see the Eiffel Tower, the Champs-Élysées, the Arc de Triomphe. When I go to America, I want to go see the Statue of Liberty. When I go to Italy, I want to see the Fallen Tower of Pisa. I want to go to the... are you with me?
Yes.
So we go to things when we go. But in our continent, we go to people. And we are a people's people. Africans. Yeah. It's just the one distinguishing thing about us is that we are a people's people. And we find joy in relationships.
Yeah.
We find joy in connections.
Yeah.
And you can go to London anytime. You can go to Berlin anytime, in New York anytime, or Paris anytime. We all start there, by the way, because it's the interesting things.
Yeah.
It's when you are growing up and all those, it's the things you must do. I think you must do them anyway. It's a rite of passage. Rite of passage when you're traveling is to go see the things.
Yeah.
But as you mature and grow older, if you can do it earlier, you should, is you go to your heart. You go find places that you can resonate to, people you can resonate with.
Yeah.
Our continent is replete, is beautiful with experiences. You know, you go there to listen to the story about, oh, this is the people. This is we're in Senegal here. This is the slave island. This is where it happened, and you get to talk to the people. So we listen, we talk, they invite you to their homes. Come eat at home tonight, like we do here. You must come to our house. Come and eat. So we talk again, and we celebrate in friendship and relationships. That's what makes African travel different from every other travel. You go to the people rather
and
than
not
to
the things, right? There, yeah.
And of course, the other important things to remember is, if in the street in Oxford, in London, they just see Africa in you. So don't run away from that. It's the beauty, it's your distinctiveness. Africa is a very distinctive continent. We're distinctive people.
Thank you so much for that, Rita. I think I'll carry that for the rest of my life. I never thought of it that way, that you travel in the continent for people and elsewhere for things. I want to talk about your brand life in terms of career and the different projects that you've done. What I found interesting, of course, you've led many of the big brands, but what I found interesting was your work in the election space and the different countries where you went in and you worked and, deliver a presidency, or at least, prepare a candidate to be suitable to win the elections. What are the things that you learned with that experience?
Well, there's two sides to it. First, on the work side, you understand that there needs to be a clarity about what somebody stands for. So it's very important that when you prepare a candidate, that they know what they're standing for. They know what they stand for. They know why they are running. There must be a why for running. And it's so important to understand, what difference do you want to make? You can't just want to run to be a president. You must try to run to change something, or to contribute to a way. And there needs to be a unity of command. A unity of command means that the people surrounding you must all sing to the same hymn. So I was watching now when Trump became president now, and the first thing he did, he got rid of everybody that he believes are not aligned with his agenda. And the debates on CNN and everywhere else was like, no, but it's the government, he mustn't. No, you need a unity of command. You need, everybody must be on the same page. And to me, those are the most important, perhaps two of the most important principles. That there's a clarity about why you're running. Then there's unity of command, where everybody is aligned to the main idea. And to me, that's the important thing. But my challenge with elections, having seen them in so many places and done them in so many places, my challenge with them is, we say all the what I've just said now, because when we're running for presidency, we all are going to change the world. We're going to create a better life. We are going to fix things. We are going, that's us when we're running for president, right? Then when we get in, then we want to become gods. And I've always found that so disappointing, that when you're running, you used to come to my grandmother's place, sit with me and eat, sit on the floor and eat.
Do the laundry.
And used to do the laundry. Like, Tokyo slept in deep sleep at one stage, overnight. Mbeki sat on the floor at some place up in President Mbeki. Mandela used to walk around. They're all with the people. They go do Siangoba rally. They're all there with everybody. But as soon as they become presidents, they become gods. They become removed from the very idea they were promoting. And they fail to deliver on the promise that Clarita spoke about, on the promise of why they ran. And whenever that happens, when I look back at the candidates that I've worked with, I always feel a sense of disappointment and a sense of irritation that I too contributed to who they are.
I see.
Because I was part of their journey. And that's my greatest disappointment when it comes to elections. I wish people can deliver on the promises. Not just the promise, but I wish they can be who they were when they were. Because how could you run away from your own people? Why do you have to be surrounded by so many blue lights, a convoy that long, and so much security? Since when have I become your enemy? Why are you so far removed from me when you got my vote, when before you had it, you're so much closer to me. It's always a saddening part for me about elections.
Yeah.
But it's a very interesting thing because, you know, the difference with elections versus working on a campaign for elections or working on a campaign for products is that when you're working with a campaign for an election, you're talking something that's going to impact everybody.
Yeah.
When it's a product, it's going to impact a few people. But also when you're talking about a product, if it doesn't deliver, you can just dump it. Change another one, try another one. Elections, we have now the misfortune of now having to wait for 4, for 5, for 7 years for you to get out of there, or for somebody to kick you out before then, for us to get a chance. But then it also becomes just like a cycle.
Yeah.
Same people come in and out because for some silly reason, politics seems to attract the same type of people.
Yeah.
There's very few transformational leaders. You know, you look at Paul Kagame in Rwanda, very transformational in terms of what he's done for his country. You look at Traore in Burkina Faso, General Traore, and you can see what he's doing in that country, transforming that country. You see the Senegalese transforming the country. You see the youth that's changing now, in the changing in the political system. Look at Botswana, how that's changing. I mean, the youngest minister is 26 or something, 26 or 28, because the Minister of Youth, so must reflect the youth.
The youth, yes.
And you know, but what you find mostly is that our politics and our politicians want to keep this as an old age home rather than a generational mix of the people who've come before and the people who are going to be there in the future.
Yeah, yeah. You are very, very open, I'd say, in the book and even in your many interviews about how you've led different brands and what worked and what didn't work and where were the failures and what you learned from those failures. And I think what comes to mind for me is the 3 universities you worked on, University of the Free State, UNISA, Botswana. In Botswana, you went through the journey, created a new brand, but the people didn't connect. They still felt like, I think somebody asked you, where's our cow? Because that was what was in the original brand, right? Talk us through about, as a leader, the value of being vulnerable in the sense that, accountable rather, in the sense that you recognize here was the error and you are open even in your book to say, hi, here, we didn't do what was required.
I think because I've got such a strong sense of self or personality, I'm open to being challenged.
Okay.
And I don't feel like being challenged and I don't feel like making mistakes reduces me in any way. So that enables me to be able to grow.
Yeah.
And as a result, I can always reflect on the mistakes I've made or also reflect on the mistakes people say I've made.
Yeah.
In the Botswana University, for example, and I realized that perhaps we didn't consult enough. Perhaps we didn't hear the people enough. I mean, it's such an interesting story because we took the university, it was 25 years then, and as part of the 25-year anniversary, the university says, we want to reimagine ourselves, we want to refresh ourselves, we want to come across as a modern, forward-looking university. So we took that brief that way, and we're literal about it. And we had a crest, which had a cow head, literally, which had a corn cob, literally, a book, literally, and inside a shield. And we said, oh, but this looks, and bricks. We said, but you can't have bricks, titena, a head of a cow. I said, that's not how a crest looks like. Crest must be elegant. Things must work well together. So we did that. We took the head of the cow. We used the horns to create a shield. We used the book on top and the sheath of the we modernized the idea. But in modernizing the idea, we lost the essence of the brand. In a way, or we lost rather the connection of them. We kept the essence, but we lost the connection, if you will, because the essence was there. You could see all those things I'm talking about, but you have to figure them out. And then I was standing outside of a door as we're putting up this new brand, and one of the sweepers, the cleaners, comes out and says, but where is our cow? I said, no, it's there, Mommy. We've put in, it's there. And I'm trying to explain this thing to her. And she says, but do you know what it meant, motu le motu, like each and every one of us brings something, because that's how the university was constituted.
Yeah.
Everybody brought something. So when they see the crest, they see themselves. And universities are interesting because university becomes part of your identity for life.
Yes.
So now if you change midway, if it's not a merger, which requires a complete change, if it's just an enhancement, then it must stay within, if you will, what it was, which is what we did with University of Free State. We stayed broadly within what it was. You can't tell the difference, but you can tell the difference of what we did there.
Yeah.
And in the instance of UNISA, for example, it was a completely transformed university. We moved it from colonial era type of symbolism to Afrocentric symbolism. But also in the Botswana one is what we lost was the simplicity of the symbolism. The head meant something because it's a wealth.
Yeah.
The corn is also feeding. It's a sufficiency. The book is knowledge. That's how the ordinary woman and man in the street sees it. And we became too sophisticated for a market that's real and authentic. And I recognize that, because when people were calling me during the change, they're like, well, there's a new vice chancellor, wants to change everything, wants to go back. I was like, what does he want? Where does he change our things? Well, but I learned, then I listened afterward. I was like, I know what it means. I know what it means. I think as a leader, it's important to be, yes, to be strong and assertive, but also to be open to criticism, but also to be open to reflection, and be able to write a course.
Oh, profound, so profound, Bratty. You are somebody who I think was very deliberate. It comes out in the book about the things that you do in your life. And one of the chapters, you speak about marking 50, your 50th birthday, what you wanted to do with that, and summiting.
Imagine,
Kilimanjaro. And I thought, well, okay, 50 is knocking on my door, but I'm not sure if I'm going to do that.
You're not? I'm confused. I thought you were going straight to Everest.
And Bratty, you take us through different types of summits. What worked? Why did you do it? And so on. And I just wanted you to reflect in terms of what is it that changes you or goes through your mind as you do these summits. They are arduous. They are even heart-wrenching.
And it's cold.
You're from the sunny,
Kimberley, the hottest of places.
Hottest South African sun. But from a personal level, how does those experiences change you? As you say now, I'm at this 50 mark. This is what I'm going to do. What does it do to your life?
I think as a person, you must constantly be evolving anyway, because time goes, and time is change and time is evolution. So you ought to be changing and evolving with time as a human being anyway. Whether you like it or not, there are changes taking place. But you need to be alive to the changes, and you need to be alive to the fact of what do those changes mean to you, or what do they symbolize to you. And I think I wrote in a book about how Sibusiso Vilani, the first African who summited the 7 peaks in the world, when we summited Kilimanjaro, and we talked about, oh my goodness, I've conquered Kili. And he said, you don't conquer Kili, you conquer yourself. Because setting up a goal that high for yourself at any point, because remember, when you get here, you cannot sit on your laurels, because you've been there, done that. And as a human being, to remain interested and excited, you need to keep moving. You need to keep moving the bar, because as George Bernard Shaw once says, it says, success is a continual state of becoming where the goal is always ahead and never behind. And if that is a philosophy, which is my philosophy in a way, if that's your philosophy, it means when I get to 49, to 50, to 51, I need to have new goals constantly, because new goals stimulate you, they keep you interested, they keep you excited, but also they push you to be better, not for anybody else, but for yourself, to overcome yourself. So a summiting of Kilimanjaro had 2 meanings in it. First, there was a physical summiting, which is the arduous stuff you talk about. But most importantly, there was the personal summiting, because you are now reaching another goal. So getting to that goal at 49 and at 50, which I did 2 successive years, at that goal, to me, it began to change a few things, because from that top, I could see the continent a bit differently. Because from the top of the mountain, everything is pure.
Yeah.
It's because it's just white from the top. You can't see anything. There's no buildings. You don't see anything. There's no roads. You just see the clouds. It's white, the snow and all that. And what it symbolizes as well is the purity of that canvas. Because at that top of that mountain, when you look down on the continent, which everybody says is corrupt, it is poor, it is diseased, it is disorganized, it is unprogressive. If you look at that continent from the top, you don't see any of that.
Yeah.
So as you come down, you have a clarity and a purposeful journey that says, I can use this canvas to reimagine the continent.
No, that's beautiful. So next year, you've revealed your age, so I can reveal Prati's
I'm 58.
age. So, yeah, 2
I'm
years.
58 now.
2 years from
I'm
now.
60.
What is the next? What is the next?
But I'm probably going to look 40.
I love that.
I'm 60 going on 40.
As we come towards our conclusion, Prati, I wanted to ask you about your African identity, and I think it's something that in the book you speak about. Is it W.E. Du Bois who says Africa is a double consciousness? You are unapologetic about your dress code when it comes to representing Africa or just showing up as an African all of the time. And you don't just subscribe to, okay, I'm a Motswana, I'm from Botswana, or I'm from South Africa, I'm from Kimberley. I just stick to, you are very much an African icon. Maybe share with us, because I think we dip in and dip out in this thing of being fully African and not really African. We want to be seen Western, but not really. It's taking us back, but not really. Your philosophy around embracing a true African identity and being unapologetic about it.
So let's talk about W.E. Du Bois, what he said beautifully about double consciousness. Is that the fact that you can exist in both worlds. He said, I can embrace the fact that I was raised in a largely colonized Western way, but as an African child. Yes. So I must accept that I can live in those worlds.
Yeah.
But as a person, I have chosen. If you look at Mobutu Sese Seko, I think it was 1979, and he spoke about abale costume, which is down with the costume, down with the suit. And remember now, I'm your GQ best dressed guy.
Yeah.
Remember, I'm the guy who was lauded and written about being the best dressed guy in this country because of my Western clothes and all those. So when I made a deliberate break from all that, I wanted to align my thinking, my words, and my appearance. But I also wanted to do something interesting as well. I wanted to live in this W.E.B. Du Bois world of being dually conscious, double conscious of it. But what I've done differently is, if I'm asked, if you see me every day doing normal things, garden, cooking, shopping, normal things, you will see me in my loosely westernized. But when they say the occasion is important, I rise up on an African way, because I believe that how we are as African, who we are, is the highest order. So that's why you'll never ever see me in a formal environment dressed Western, because I've elevated who we are to the highest rung. And everything else is for the streets.
I didn't expect that you say that everything else is for the streets, but
well, I mean,
that's an interesting play of words there. The other point about your life that you let us into, which I think is very personal. You know, it's about your life story and your father, and how you discovered your father's family and so on. What I just wanted to talk about broadly is the country's fatherlessness. And I mean, you're nearing your sixth decade now. As you're nearing towards 60, you experience this. Many of your friends did. Children today still experience the same thing. And you had role model. You got to where you are with all of those kind of challenges. What is it that you can say to somebody listening to us today who have caregivers or parents, not necessarily their dads, and still giving them that assurance that you will come out okay on the other side?
I think there's a phrase in the Bible that says, God does not give you that which you cannot handle. That's the one part.
Yeah.
The second part is, I must be fortunate because I'm African. It's the most beautiful thing to be, and most great position to be in, to be born in an African family.
Yeah.
Because in an African family, you're not just a child of your mother and your father. You're a villager. You're a child of the village. Your aunties, your cousins, your mother's friends, and all those. So I grew up in a village, if you will. My grandmother, my uncles, and an extended family, which allows you to never ever feel lacking of anything. And to never ever feel that maybe you don't have a father, or your father denied you, or your father wouldn't take on the responsibilities as my case was in there. So I never missed that because it wasn't part of me. Because the village is so big and so strong and so nurturing and so loving. I did not need any, I did not miss what I didn't know. That's the one part. The third and most important part of it is if you dwell in what you don't have, then you miss the opportunity to become that which you can be. And I was never ever put in a position to worry about what I didn't have. I was always future focused on what I can be.
No, thank you so much for that, Priti. We are going to conclude as I'm looking at the clock there. But I have to ask you just a few other things. Throughout the book, you mention everybody by name. You don't say, I had a friend there was this neighbor, there was this uncle, I'm not sure. You mention every single person by name and surname. So it says to me that you've got a very good recollection, good memory, and memory of an elephant when it comes to people.
Elephant? But why choose an elephant? Could you choose something? Choose something elegant.
It's a saying. It's an African saying. And I was asking myself, firstly, how do you do that? Because it speaks to your relationship ethos and how you connect with people. Teach us that. How do you remember the guy who sat behind you in class?
I don't.
But in the book it looks like you do. But you know what I mean?
I think I said it earlier that in Africa we go to the people. We're a people-based community. We're a relationship-based. It's who we are. And when I relate stories that have names and faces and places. I can't relate a story on hypothetics, hypotheticals in terms of somebody who looked like this, was a bit short, Benjani, and all those. I have to tell the story properly. If I talk about Viwe, you know, in Zulu, in township, they like to say, Konjelo Viwe udumengani. It's like, explain Viwe to me.
Yes.
I can't say, I think she's Xhosa, I think she's 5'3". I must describe you properly as to who are you, how do we relate to each other, and what is the impact of your life in my life. I write in that way, but I speak that way every day. Every day I'm known for being the guy who describes the details as I see them, and because it's my story. If you have a problem with it, you can write your own book. You can write your own counter book. You can go to do a review and tell your side of the story. The book has been out now for 14 weeks. It's been #1 for 14 weeks at Exclusive. Nobody's called me to say, that's not true. I was not there. Because I wrote, I knew the story. I described the circumstances well. So you can tell. Also, the book was not a name and shame, if you will.
Of course.
It wasn't a name and shame, wasn't a tell-all. The reason I described the people is so that you must have a picture of the person. Or if you have to Google the person, you can complete the picture. And because what's the point of reading something that speaks about somebody 3 foot tall, sat to my left, come from the south and the east and the north. I can't tell that picture. But I can tell it better if I say, Ntombazane umXhosa, who always had her hair beautifully cut.
Yeah.
She wore her makeup lightly,
Yeah.
and she wore her culture boldly.
Yeah.
So are you with me?
I love that.
So now they look, so now they can imagine you
What?
better. That's why I write. And I write direct. I write the way I speak.
Yeah.
As you can tell in the book as well.
Yes.
The book is not written to try and trick anybody. So it's one person's story. And it's a journey. It's called a traveler because it's a journey. From the moment I left Kimberley
Yeah.
to come to Johannesburg, to Belgium, to New York, to Columbus, to Milwaukee, back to South Africa,
Yeah.
and then the rest of the continent. It's a journey.
Yeah.
And that journey has got many stops. And that's why I try to write the book as well. That there's the home stop, the mid stop, the latest stop.
Yeah. Yeah. You also teach in the book, I don't know if that was your intention, but about paying it forward and mentoring others and giving. Even though you say you're not a gift person, I found many gifts in how you told the story of paying it forward and the people involved in there. Maybe your let's say parting shot to leaders in terms of paying it forward, and also the role of mentorship in our society, given where we are in South Africa today.
At any moment, the maker can call you. At any moment. Because they say we know neither the time, nor the place, nor the moment that's going to happen. And when they do, L. Ron Hubbard, the founder of Scientology, said, we're going to be asked two questions. Did you do the things you were meant to do? Did the people who knew you think your life was worth living? If that's the measure of a life, then every action must be intentional. Every decision you make must be intentional. Every interaction must be impactful. When we leave here, when the maker calls, we're not going to live with the gold and the silver. We're going to live with we're going to live with the difference that we've made in the lives of others. And that's why I think mentorship is important.
Yeah.
Paying it forward is important. That's why it's important to not accumulate things, but to accumulate memories and good deeds, because that's what we'll remember you for. Do you read obituaries?
I do.
I read obituaries all the time. Obituaries are the most beautiful biographies.
Yeah.
And the obituaries always have a headline.
Yeah.
Udumenga ku.
Yeah.
He will be remembered for A,
this,
B, and C.
Yeah.
Then they will go through them.
Yeah.
Then they will write at the bottom, who will remember you.
So, Bertie, last one from me. It's Nina Simone who sings this song, and it came to me this morning, the song titled Young, Gifted, and Black. And as I was going to have this conversation with you, I thought to myself,
he's not young, he's not gifted, I think he's black.
To the contrary, actually, because we've got such a very young spirit. And I thought to myself, we have a majority in our country, that's the youth.
70% of the countries and the continent is under the age of 30.
Yes, absolutely. Your parting words as we conclude this conversation to those young, gifted, and black majority of our continent and our country.
We cannot mortgage our future to the rest of the world as Africans. This continent, everybody's looking to us because they call us the last frontier.
Yeah.
If it's the last frontier, we cannot take it back 400 years. For everybody to come back like vultures to pick from it. We need to be the architect of the future that we want to see in this continent. And young people who are 70% under the age of 30 are the people who are in a good place to design and deliver the future that they want to see. Do you know I was at the African Union, 2013 or something, 50 years of African Union. There was a president from Zambia, I think President Sata, and he was late for a meeting with young people. It was a youth meeting, and he came running, and he was quite oldish. He came running and says, I'm late, and was late, and says, I've got places to go. So you guys need to go on and tell me what it is that you want to talk about. And they said, slow down. We're going to be alive long after you're gone. This is our future we're talking about. You begin to see now with the Gen Z and all the others taking that seriously, that this is their future, that they need to play an active role in, to design the Africa that they deserve, and not look back and blame the past, but rather look forward and design the future. A good friend, Victor Tlamini, once said to me something beautiful I've always loved and I always use everywhere. He says, everybody else has got a past, but Africa has got a future. The young are going to be in that future. So they better be taking active part in designing that future.
With those words of wisdom, I must take this opportunity, Pratit, to thank you from the bottom of my heart for sitting in this chair and doing this. You don't know it yet. Do you think we're having a conversation about your book in this e-lounge? But I say to many authors who sit here, this is a masterclass. This is a mentorship class. This is a lifelong experience sharing, storytelling that we do, that we hope by you sharing the knowledge, you can move the people, or at least somebody who's listening to us today can be moved to action. I know that I was, having read your book. There are certain parts of the book that I was like, I need to have a quick step when I do A, B, C, and D. So I want to thank you very much and wishing you many, many more journeys. I know that you've concluded.
And a few mountains, right?
Of course.
You're going to join me in my next Kilimanjaro. I need to do Kilimanjaro soon.
I'll carry your water bottle.
You'll wait for me at the base. Okay.
I'll be there at the base. You've been listening to the e-lounge. The Gautrain brings you e-lounge as a learning and knowledge sharing platform. I do hope that with today's session, as with many others, you have taken the knowledge that will move your life to better heights. Thank you.